Hello everyone, this is Maureen and welcome to my crochet story where I share with you the two things that I love, teaching and crochet. Today is the fourth in the series for our basic stitches. Now, many will not consider the front post double crochet to be a basic stitch, but I do, and I'll tell you why. We use the front post double crochet a lot, especially when we're making wearables like hats, ear warmers, vests, cardigans, even in our scarves, our wraps, our shawls. It's a very nice textured stitch. It also is a nice bridge, again, just like all of our other basic stitches, to other stitches. Now, there is also the back post double crochet, but we won't be learning that one for a couple of weeks because I don't want you to get confused between the two because they are done differently. Now, what kind of project have I chosen for you to do today in order to learn your front post double crochet? Well, I decided that since so many of you love the little ear warmer that we did last week, I decided to do another one. Now this one is a little bit different in the fact that it is a little taller, all right? And as you can see, even from back here, you can see some nice texture going on here, excuse me, here in this little ear warmer. Now, look at that stitch. Isn't that gorgeous? And look at it this way. Now this little ear warmer can be, just like the other one, adjusted in circumference. It can be adjusted in height. You can make it even thicker to go from ear to here if you wanted to. But this is a really nice 2-row repeat, very quick and easy to learn. It is made in multiples of 2 plus 1, so that allows you to start and end rows nicely. Now, whenever I use the front post or the double or the back post to make things such as ear warmers, I do not, like we did on the last one, fold it in the middle or anything, because I don't want to lose this beautiful textured fabric that the front post double crochet allows us to have. So, what are you going to need? You're going to need some 4-way or worsted yarn, acrylic, and you're going to need your J-hook. So, if you wish to join me and learn how to do the front post double crochet, grab your materials, and I will meet you in just a moment right after the intermission. See you in a minute. Today I'm going to be working with Walmart's in-house brand called Mainstay. This one is a 100% acrylic yarn. This does say it includes a little pattern on the inside of the label. I won't know that until I get fairly close to using most of the yarn. This one has 397 yards or 363 meters. This is a medium 4-weight or worsted yarn. If you were knitting, it says that you can use a 5.5 millimeter. We're going to be crocheting. Now this suggests a 5.5 millimeter, which is an I hook, but we're going to be using our trusty J hook. Now this is just like most acrylic blends. You only wash and dry, do not bleach, and do not iron. I chose this really pretty pink today because, I mean, what girl doesn't like pink? And the color for this one is, let's see, where are you? Oh, here it tells us that on the inside, it's a little ridge crochet cowl, and that it only requires 1 ball. Well, that's nice. I didn't even see that earlier. But folks, I cannot find the color for this anywhere. Where are you? Well, I'll be doggone. Well, I'm going to call it a very pretty hot pink. So remember, we're going to need our yarn and our J-hook, and we'll get started. So you're going to have to give me just a moment. I know I said in a previous video, but I just want to make sure that you all caught it. Red Heart, normally somewhere on their label, will tell you that this end you can work with your thread from the outside, and to the right of the label is where you can pull from the center. Now, I just learned recently that all skeins pull from the middle on the right side. So I am going to try this. Now, this is very tightly wound or put together. It is, I also want to mention, this is a very nice soft yarn for it to be in an in-house brand. In fact, I really kind of like it a little bit better than the Red Heart. The only thing is that the mainstay does come in limited colors and in limited striping. So let's see if we can find this middle string here. Sometimes you just have to dig around. Okay, well, as I was digging around, it looked like I had to pull out quite a little chunk, but I did find my center pull. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this off to the side along with this little bit of skein, and we're going to start. Now, the front post double crochet is made by building upon our skill of being able to do the double crochet. So we're going to start with our putting our yarn onto the hook. So whichever technique that you have learned or that you have chosen to use, I'm going to use my trusty crossing over the back and then using my parallel lines to get the first loop on my hook. All right, so for this little practice and project at the end, I want you to chain 60 stitches. All right, remember, a chain is just simply looping thread around our hook and pulling it through the loops. All right, looping and pulling it through the loop, excuse me. And I will meet you back in just a moment. All right, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. Now, what we're going to do back towards this tail is we're going to put one single crochet in each of these chains until we get back to the tail. Now, you should know how to do a single crochet by now, but I'll get you started. Remember that the loop here on the hook does not count. It is just our working loop to get started going back. So we're going to single crochet into the second stitch from our hook. So skip here. We're going to single crochet using only the top loop. Remember, we go in, we have 2 loops on our hook, and pull through. Again to the next, top loop only. So here we go. Just continue going down your chain, and remember, this first row is always the hardest to get started, just because you're working with just a chain and you're only working with, you know, very limited yarn here. So take your time, make sure that each of your stitches are very consistent, because this is the foundation upon which your project is going to be built. And I will meet you down at the end in just a minute. All right, I am coming down to the end of my row. And don't forget that this last loop here next to your knot has to have a single crochet as well. All right, now I'm going to stop just a moment because it is very important that I go back and check to make sure I didn't skip any chains. And it looks like I didn't. If I had skipped a chain, there would be a hole. So I just want to check to make sure that every chain has a, yeah. All right. Now this next row is going to set up our row, or our first row, in which we started learning to do the front post double crochet. So we're going to chain one, turn our work, and in this next row we're going to put in every stitch all the way back to the beginning of this row a double crochet. Now remember, a double crochet, we go around our loop. Oh, excuse me. Remember, Maureen likes to start her row with the stitch that we're going to be working with. Now in many patterns you will see that some folks like for you to start with a chain 2 or a chain 3. Since I am going to be seaming these two ends together, I want to make sure that I don't have any holes when I'm building that seam. So that's why I will start this row with the stitch that I'm going to be using in the row. So I'm going to go right back into this first stitch here. I'm going to go under both of the loops, and I'm going to create a double crochet. Remember that the double crochet, we put a loop on our hook, we go under both loops of the previous stitch. There's 3 loops, and we're going to drop 2 at a time, which means I'm going to pull my yarn through the first 2 loops and then yarn through the next 2. Now this first double crochet here is always going to have a little bit bigger loop, but that's okay because it comes out in the wash when we come back. So double crochet again, we go underneath both loops of the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through and drop 2, pull through and drop 2. Again, under both loops, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. All right, and I will meet you down at the end of this row. All right, as you can see, I've come down to the end of my second row. So I'm going to put my last double crochet into that single crochet. All right, this next row now will start our learning of the front post double crochet. So again, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. In this very first stitch, I want to put a double crochet. I'm going to yarn over. There we go. Now around the post of this next double crochet is where we're going to make our front post. Now we're just going to go around the post and make a double crochet, but we're going to do it in such a way where it pushes this post to the front. So what we're going to do is yarn over. We're going to go under the post. See how it pushes it out? We're going to come from the front, go behind the post, grab us some yarn, and pull it up. Now you're going to have to pull it up so that it's about the same height as the double crochet before it. And then we're just going to make our double crochet. All right, so see how that front post has popped out compared to these others? Now in the next stitch, we're going to make just a plain double crochet. Now what I want you to notice is many people like to go back into this stitch here thinking that it is the stitch you're supposed to go into. But if you'll pull your yarn up just a little bit, you'll see that this double crochet, or this front post double crochet, is covering that stitch. So we're not going to be using that one. We're going to go to the next one to make our double crochet. And now we're going to do a front post double crochet again. So I'm going to loop around my hook. I'm going to come in from the front, go behind the post, grab some yarn, pull it up, and then finish out my double crochet. And again, you can see that it's pushed this post of the double crochet from the previous row out. So I'm going to make sure that that lays on top of the double crochet that I just used, and I'm going to go into this very next double crochet and make my normal double crochet. Again, go around. I'm going to make a front post again, come from the front, go behind the post, pull it up, and finish out my double crochet. Now if you turn and look at it from the side, you can see that you're starting to get some little ridges here. Valley, top, valley, top, valley, top. So let's go again, laying my front post down. Know that this is the next double crochet I need to work into. This is the next one I want to use to make my post. Yarn over. Remember, go into the front so I can push that post out. Grab my yarn, pull it up, and finish out my double crochet. So let's continue. My next stitch is a double crochet. And now the front post again. From the front, behind, grab my yarn, finish out my double crochet. Again, put it there so I can see the next stitch I need to go into. Make my double crochet, front post again, come from the front, go behind, pull up my yarn. Now you're liable to feel it to be a little bit tight there, and that's okay. But you don't want it to be so tight that it causes your stitches to scrunch down. Okay. Again, here's the next stitch I need to go into. So there's my double crochet. Want to use the post here from the front. Push it out, come around, pull up my yarn, and finish out. Now I want you to do this all the way to the end, taking your time. This is not a speed test, all right? So it is double crochet, and then our front post double crochet. Double crochet, and front post double crochet. And you're going to find it's giving a nice texture. Give me some more thread here. Next one is a double crochet and our front post double crochet. Now if you need to stop and back up, there's nothing wrong with that. I will meet you then at the end of the row, and we'll look to see how your progress is going. Alright, I am coming down to the end of this first row of front post. I hope that you have hung in there with me and taken your time. Now when we get down to the end, we should end with a front post. Excuse me, I was doing a double. A front post right around this last stitch, which means I'm going to come all the way around from behind, and it's going to push it out a little bit, but not as defined as the rest here. So there you go. Now it's alright if it looks like it's leaning a little bit, because when you move to the next row, everybody's going to straighten up and stand tall like the little soldiers that they are. Alright, so we're going to chain one and turn our work. Don't worry about this little bunching here, because that's from the double crochet that we created earlier. Alright, so for this next row, we're going to do double crochets all the way across. So go into that first stitch, make your first double crochet into the top of the next stitch, which was that front post that you made. Double crochet, just double crochet into the top of each stitch, being sure to go under both loops. We're going to do this all the way across. Okay, and I will meet you at the end of the row. Alright, I am coming down to the end of my row, finishing up my double crochets. Now don't forget about this last one down here. It's the one with the great big loop. Alright, chain one and turn our work. Now we are going to start again with another row of front post double crochets. So we're going to start with a double crochet into this first one. Remember, that's going to create a big loop, but that's okay. Now into the second one, we are going to do a front post double crochet. So here we go. In, under to push it out, pull it up, and finish out our double crochet. Remember to lay that there so that you can find your next double crochet and make a double crochet. Next one will be a post, so we're going to go in from the front, under the post, pull up our yarn, and finish out our double crochet. Yarn over, go into the next stitch and just make a double crochet. Yarn over. Next one is the front post, so we're going to go in from the front, push it out, and finish our double crochet. Next one is the double crochet. Next one is the front post. Go in from the front, push out that post, and finish with our double crochet. Hopefully now you can see where your double crochets are going to go after each of your front posts. There we go. There's my next double crochet and my next front post. And I hope that by now you can see this really nice textured ribbing that you're getting. And it's very obvious which is going to be your front and which is going to be your back, because this back is just going to have where the double crochet hooked behind. So this is definitely going to be your back side, and this will be your front. So I'm going to continue with my double crochet being my next stitch, and my front post is the next. Just alternating down the row. Again, a double crochet and a front post double crochet, single crochet, a double crochet, and a front post double crochet. And I will meet you down at the end of the row. Alright, I am coming to the end of my row again. I have just completed a post double crochet, front post, excuse me. Next stitch is a single crochet, and again I'm going to end with a front post double crochet, going in and pulling it up. Now it doesn't look much like our front post from the rest of the row, but it will whenever we get ready to put our edges together. Alright, you know what the next row is, a row of double crochets. So here we go. Chain one, turn your work, go back into that very first stitch there and make your double crochet. Give me some more yarn here. Make sure that hair doesn't get into it. And we just continue down the row making double crochets. And I will meet you down at the end in just a moment. Alright, I'm coming to the end of my row of just double crochets. Don't forget to go into that one loop back there, down there at the end, because that is our first double crochet from the previous row. Chain one and turn our work. Alright, this is our row of front post. So remember, we start with a double crochet, and we're going to go in from the front, behind the post, pull up our loop, and make our front post. Hopefully by now you've gotten the rhythm. Going to the double crochet next, front post next, double crochet next, front post next, and that's our pattern all the way down the row. Double crochet, front post, double crochet, front post, double crochet, and front post. Don't know why I was trying to put that chain in there. Double crochet and front post. And I will meet you again at the end of the row. Alright, I'm coming to the end of my row. Here is my last double crochet, and around this last one, remember I'm still going to make a post because it still pushes it forward. and finish out the double crochet. Now you can continue on if you would like. I am finished with this little project of not only learning the front post double crochet, but giving myself enough practice. So we're going to finish this out and see what little project we can do with this textile that we have just created. Alright, so I want you to chain one, turn your work, and in this last row here we're just going to build single crochets all the way across. Now I do this because I started with a row of single crochets and I want this to have the same ending as the beginning. I'm just going to come through here, and in the top of each of my stitches I am just going to put a single crochet. So I will meet you at the end of the row. Alright, I have just completed my row of single crochets, and there is my textured textile piece. Now remember, there is a front side and a back side, so these ridges here that you see are your back side, the ones that are going horizontal. Your front side is your front post here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, did I chain one already? Yes, I did. Chain one and pull up a little bit of a loop, and then I'm going to pull me enough yarn where I can seam my edges together. Alright, so with using my tapestry needle here, I'm going to go ahead and go back through this loop that I made earlier so that I can just tie it off. There we go. Now, since this is my front side, I want to bring the edge from the other end over and keep my right sides together. Okay? Now, what's nice about the front post practice that we did here, it's really easy to line up your edges because you can feel from both sides the rows here. Alright, so I'm going to start from the back side here and go into this to the end here, these very first single crochets. I'll make sure my yarn goes over the top, and I'm going to go one more time to make sure it's secure. Alright, now I'm going to move over just a little bit, and I'm going to come under here and make sure that I can catch at least 2 strands from either edge, and I'm going to make a stitch. Then I'm going to come from the back side here and do that again. So I'll be going from back to front and front to back. And wanting to catch just enough there to make sure that whenever I am stretching this going over my head, that I don't pull out those edges there. Yeah, wanted to make sure I caught both those loops. Went up right under them. And again, this is not a speed race. Take your time. Make sure that you're going under and, like I said, catching enough of your stitch there on the edge. There we go. There it goes. I'll make sure I get to the very edge here. It's only one loop. Let's come down here a little bit and pull up. There we go. I'm going to go over the end here. All right. Now, many folks will just stop right there. I like to turn my work over and go back through just one more time, since I've already established my seam there. Because like I said, you're going to be stretching this to get over your head. And you'll notice that these stitches aren't quite as small as from the beginning, because I'm just using this more as a security. Like I said, you don't have to do this. This is just what I do. Now, after I come back here to this edge, in order to hide my tail from this, I'll just open this up and come right down the middle of it, catching a few pieces. All right, going to be stubborn. Okay, there we go. I don't want a lot of loops. Just want enough to feed my tail back in and hide it. Just anywhere I can get my needle to go back through. Okay, there we go. Then I'm going to come down here and find this tail from our very beginning. There she goes. And I'm just going to come in through here and see if I can find some places to hide it. Lacey, no. Thank you. Don't know if you saw a little brown skin there. That's from my hound dog. Should say my husband's hound dog. She's just a little puppy. Should say a big puppy. She thinks whenever I'm creating my tutorials that I am talking to her. And so she wants to get in on the conversation. There we go. Lacey, no. All right. So there's my nice seam. Flip it out. And there, Lacey, no. And there is our nice ear warmer. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. Now remember, you can adjust this to any length that you want. This will fit a person with a 18-inch head circumference. If you want to make it larger or smaller, this was made in a multiple of 2. So if you wish to, you can always put a little flower here on the edge. You can put a string of buttons. A lot of times folks have come to want to kind of hide that seam there a little bit, which really I kind of think falls right in line with what we created there. They'll come and put buttons here to hide that. There's just lots of little things that you can do with it. It is very adjustable. As I said, you can make it smaller in length to fit a child. You can make it bigger for an adult, as I said, just by working in multiples of 2. So I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you stuck with me, because the front post stitch is a little bit different, but with practice, look at what some beautiful things that we can create. All right? So until next time, if you are a new subscriber to my channel, I appreciate so much you being here. If you stop by just to have a look at what I was going to create with the front post, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and consider subscribing to my channel. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little notification bell so that you excuse me, get every video that I put out. Alrighty. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate your support. So until next time, remember to be safe, be kind to one another, and be the light in the darkness for someone today, because you never know. It might be your light that they need to see. Love you all. Bye.